Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel. I am Dr. Whitney Kosters, professor of English, and this space is here to help you not only understand literature, but really engage with it and maybe even enjoy it. In this video, we're going to take a close layered look at Jamaica Kincaid's short piece, Girl. It's just 690 words, but it does so much. We'll talk about what the story means, how it's structured, and why its language matters. Whether you're reading it for class, studying for the AP exam, thinking about how gender and power show up in literature, or just trying to figure out what makes the story so unsettling and unforgettable, you're in the right place. If that sounds helpful, go ahead and subscribe and feel free to leave a comment below. I would love to hear what you think about the story and my analysis of it. Before we start, I want to make sure that you've listened to the story. I've actually recorded an audiobook and provided the link in the description below. It's under 3.5 minutes long, so it's not going to delay you much. I really think that this story is meant to be heard before it's analyzed. The rhythm, the breathlessness, the repetition, all of it works together in a very specific way. If you have already read and listened to the story, let me first give you a little context. The story is told entirely in one voice, a mother talking to her daughter, giving command after command after command. We know it's a mother not only because the instructions are deeply personal and come from lived experience, but also because she talks about things like how to smile, how to sweep, how to make pudding, how to behave around men, how to have an abortion. These are the kinds of instructions a mother would give, not a teacher and not a sister. And it's not just the content that tells us, it's the tone. She's not chatting, she's warning. She's pouring out everything she knows, not in conversation, but in command. That raises some important questions. Is this helpful? Is it harmful? Or is it both? And what kind of world is this mother preparing her daughter for? And finally, why is she speaking this way and why now? The commands cover clothing, domestic skills, manners, behavior, sexuality, and reputation. And the sheer number of them reflects something bigger. This is the burden girls, and thus women, carry. The mother knows what the world expects from her daughter, and she's trying to prepare her in the only way she knows how. That urgency, that overload, that breathless delivery, it's not just about control, it's about survival. So let's talk about how that's shown on the page. Stylistically, the story is composed almost entirely of semicolons, not periods or paragraph breaks. It looks like one giant block of text, and it is. This is not an accident. This form creates a sense of breathlessness and pressure, almost like the language won't let up. Each semicolon divides the mother's commands, but life happens between those semicolons. The story isn't meant to feel like a 1-minute outburst. It's not a rant or a litany of commands. It's a representation of the slow, constant pressure women experience over time. These are the kinds of directives girls hear not once, but every day over the course of years and years, in church, at home, in public, at school. This is how gender performance is programmed. Not in a moment, but through accumulation. Now, when the girl does speak, her words appear in italics, and there are only 2 times she interrupts her mother's voice, and both are quickly swept back into the stream of commands. The visual difference on the page is subtle, but powerful. Her speech doesn't get its own line. It's not heard or given space. It's merely italicized, and then it's absorbed. This is where we start to see not just structure, but domination. We often describe girl as one long sentence, which is technically true, but that description tends to romanticize the form. A more honest reading is that it's a linguistic domination. One voice overruns the narrative space, imposing itself through rhythm, compression, and breathlessness. Grammar becomes something of a weapon. The mother's voice doesn't pause to reflect, ask, or listen. The daughter's 2 responses, but I don't sing, Benna, and but what if the baker, are completely overtaken. This is not just dominance and submission. It's deeper than that. The mother is programming and the girl is being formatted. So why does it matter that this is a mother speaking? Because the mother-daughter relationship is where gender norms are often enforced most intimately. The mother is the first model, the first teacher. And in this case, she's both the protector and the enforcer. This voice doesn't come from cruelty. It comes from fear. What happens to a daughter's sense of self when her earliest lessons are about how to avoid shame, judgment, and desire? Now, Carol Bailey, a critic, frames this story's form as a kind of stage direction for gender performance. The mother's instructions act like rehearsal cues: how to move, how to speak, how to clean, how to carry yourself in public. The repetition of "this is how" doesn't invite the girl to become someone new. It tells her exactly what to do, and that failure is already assumed. But here's what makes the story even more devastating. It's not just a one-time list. As I mentioned earlier, this is not a single moment. It's an echo. And this is how patriarchy works, not just through direct punishment, but through repetition that becomes internalized. The voice in this story isn't just the mother's. It's the cultures, it's the communities, it's even the daughter's future self. Over time, the voice becomes so deeply embedded that women themselves become the ones passing it on. And this is how social power sustains itself, not only through male dominance, but through female survival instincts, complicity, and learned obedience. Kinkaid isn't showing us one domestic moment. She's showing us how a girl becomes a woman under the weight of relentless gender performance. And we cannot and should not overlook the mother's obsession with one specific fear, that her daughter will become a slut. That word shows up more than once. It's the thing she's trying most to prevent. Because for centuries, sexual reputation has been used to control women. It's a weapon meant to shame, discredit, and silence. The mother is terrified of what that label would do to her daughter. She's not just concerned with morality. She's strategizing survival. In this context, respectability is armor. It's camouflage. From a psychoanalytic perspective, the daughter isn't being offered guidance. She's being formatted. In Lacanian terms, she's caught before the mirror stage before entering language on her own terms. She's being inserted into a symbolic order that precedes her, not as a desiring subject, but as a projection of her mother's fear, shame, and internalized regulation. This isn't maternal wisdom. It's preemptive discipline disguised as care. The line, "so they won't recognize immediately the slut I've warned you against becoming," isn't just moral policing, it's defense. The mother is teaching her daughter how to protect herself by performing acceptability because the stakes are survival. We also can't ignore the post-colonial context. Kinkaid was born in Antigua, which was under British rule until 1981. That colonial residue is all over the story. The obsession with cleanliness, propriety, and discipline, these are not just maternal concerns. They're colonial ones. Women were often the ones enforcing respectability in colonized communities. The mother isn't just passing down gender roles, she's passing down colonial survival strategies. So Bailey even points out how domestic labor like growing dasheen, making pudding, ironing clothes is not just gendered, but racialized and classed. This is a Black Caribbean girl being trained under pressure from systems her mothers didn't create, but had to navigate. And now she's passing them on. Let's look at something else that makes this story radical. Its refusal of dialogue. Most literary texts move toward change, growth, conflict, and resolution, but Girl does none of that. It ends exactly where it begins. There's no rupture or transformation, and the girl is denied subjectivity. Bailey argues that her body becomes a storehouse of performative acts. She performs or she disappears. So why is Girl so important in our literary history? It's not just telling a story, it's an autopsy of how girls become women. It shows us how women are taught to inhabit their own erasure, how internalized codes get passed down like recipes, and how silence isn't absence, it's structure. But to me, the most haunting part is that the voice that disciplines the girl becomes the one she adopts as her own. And this is how power embeds itself in language. This is how a girl becomes a woman. Really, Kinkaid doesn't describe power, she performs it. And she gives us a blueprint for how gender, shame, and colonial memory shape language, and how language shapes us. That's all I've got for you today, so let me know what you think in the comments below, whether it's a question, a connection you made, or something you're still puzzling over. I would love to hear your thoughts. As always, thanks for watching, and be well.